Welcome to Through It All. I Forgot You with Mark and Sharanda. We're already cracking up. This is episode 7, and we're going to talk a little bit about compromise. You ready to compromise?
Depends on what it is.
That's not what this. You should say yes, baby. I'm ready to compromise.
Oh gosh.
Just make it a little testy. You're not even ready to compromise?
It's not gonna get testy. I'm always willing to compromise.
Okay. All right, we'll go with that take then. We want to thank you again for joining us through this ride on Through It All. I've Got You with Mark and Sharanda. Before I get started, I wanted to say this episode is sponsored by the Brooks Realty Group. If you need to buy a home, sell a home, invest in a rental property, we are available to help in North and South Carolina.
Yes.
We're always ready to serve, to help you turn a house into a home.
That's right.
So thank you, Brooks Realty Group, for sponsoring this. We are going to talk a little bit about, what are we talking about?
Compromise.
Oh, I just said that, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Compromise.
We're going to talk about compromise. And next week, we're going to talk a little bit about Let's Talk About Blank. There was a Salt and Pepper song that was back in the day. You remember that one?
Yes.
Were you fully in the church during that time, or you was dipping your listening to a little music? Do you remember? I don't even remember.
Was that 89, 80?
I don't know the year.
I don't know the year, but I can't remember. But I do know the song.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't thinking about church. I went because my mom told me to go, but
You was made to go.
I was made to go. Now I want to go.
That's right.
But yeah, so let's talk about, and you can fill it in. We may talk a little bit about sex. We may talk a little about everything else, but that'll be next week. Let's talk about blank. If you don't follow us, please follow us on any podcast platform. You have to subscribe, and it'll tell you when the next episode drops. We also have a YouTube channel where you can see us, and we're on Instagram where you can see us there as well. So without further ado, we'll jump into compromise. Okay?
Yep.
How was your day today?
My day is good. What about yours?
Busy, but good. The weather's starting to drop a little bit. It's not as hot.
Yeah, I love that fall weather.
Fall weather feels
Yes,
good.
it's beautiful.
It is. So we're going to jump in and talk a little bit about compromise and what that looks like and what it is, and should you do it, shouldn't you do it, and what can happen if you don't, and what can happen if you do. So, compromise is a big thing if you're coming from a single life, which I would think most people are.
Well, not necessarily.
Well, I mean, you were single at some point.
Yeah, you were single at some point, but someone can be coming from a marriage to another marriage.
It could. We're talking about compromise, and even it could be coming from dating where you learn to compromise, and into the marriage. Hopefully, you didn't just start straight marriage. You
Right.
did a little dating first, and
Yes.
maybe before that you were friends, but you learned to compromise. And I told a story early on, I think our first or second episode, where we carpooled together, and that started down the journey. That's the distinct time I remember of thinking, man, she gave me what I wanted. I need to give her what she wanted. I didn't want to do it, but I did it.
That was your thing. You wanted it.
You can make a suggestion and still not want what you say. And I could have said, man, I could have asked for more, but I didn't.
I did what you asked for. I compromised.
Yeah, that's a good point. Ask what you want,
That's right.
because you may get it. You may not have to compromise at all. It may be amenable to both of you. So, what do you think about when you think about compromise in marriage? What comes to your mind?
Just meeting in the middle, having a common ground for, the both of you to agree on whatever it is that you're trying to discuss or come to a agreement with.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's finding something that you can be comfortable with, as well as your spouse can be comfortable with.
Right.
And you agree on that. It's not a one-sided thing.
Exactly.
I mean, sometimes it could be one-sided where, hey, I need to get on board with you, or you need to get on board with me. And then sometimes we need to meet. It may not even be halfway, but we need to meet
Yeah.
a little bit of ways. And when I think about compromise, we talked about communication before, and I think that's involved in compromise. It's communication, it's active listening.
Yeah.
I mean, it's willingness to explore other things.
Yeah.
You have your way of thinking, I have mine. They may not agree all the time.
Right. It's really sitting down, discussing, listening to the other person. And it shouldn't always be one person always doing the bending. It should be equal, not always you bending toward me or me bending toward you.
I was having a conversation with someone last night. One of my friends, he's married, and he was talking about something going on in their household. He talked about they have a child that's older. I wouldn't say too old. I mean, they're in their early 20s, very early 20s, and that particular child is still at the house, and it's causing conflict with him and maybe with his spouse a little bit, because as you know, when you start to get older, you have your ways, and they may not, they may not align with your parents' ways. It's not that you're out there wilding. It's just, as you're getting grown, you've got things you like to do, and it's starting to cause a rift in the marriage. And I was talking to him, and I was saying, hey, what can you compromise? What can you agree on? Almost to the point where you talk to your child. And I backed up. I said, wait a minute. You and your spouse need to come to an agreement first, and then go to the child with a united front. Because if you're trying to figure it out in front of them, they could use that as oh, I got them. I got them. They're not a united front. So I told him, I said, hey, you all come together as husband and wife and say, hey, this is what we agree on, whether it's a timeline for the child to move out. Hey, let's put a plan in place. And, when I was talking to him, he was like, his wife doesn't necessarily want to see the child go. I mean, it's, the mother is connected. And he was like, listen, I told him, I said, hey, man, you're married to her first. She's married to you first. Y'all come before the children. You're not putting your child out there unprepared, but you at some point they're going to leave, and y'all got each other. So that was, we were just talking about how do you compromise with that. And he was struggling with it. And I said, man, just think through what can you do to bend a little bit, maybe not get upset with the small things that will drive you crazy.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts around that?
They just have to sit and talk about, like you said, timeline. When do you want, them to go or whatever, and not kick them out right? Are they ready to go? You got to think about those things. Yes, we want our children to eventually fly the nest and not stay, but we also want them to be prepared.
We do.
When they go. So you have to think about those things and see if that person financially ready to go. Are they mentally ready to go? Those things they have to sit down and think about. If they say, hey, we're going to give you a year, 6 months, are they helping them prepare?
Yeah, I think when you set a timeline in compromise, whatever the compromise in this situation or any other situation, you say, hey, let's say we're going to do this by X. It gives you checkpoints. All right, we're a quarter of the way there. Where are we? Are we, maybe it's a financial decision that you all said, I want to do this, you want to do that. We can meet in the middle. This is what it's going to cost. Let's not just both have an input to achieving this goal.
Right.
And if it's going to be in 6 months, after a month, are we closer?
Right.
2 months, are we closer? And what that does is it helps you all move in the same space, move in the same vein, move together. When I think about compromise too, I think about it's being proactive.
Yeah.
Problem solving together, being
Together.
proactive.
Yeah. You can't compromise by yourself. So, yeah, you got to sit down and hey, let's figure this thing out together, not the one person trying to figure it out in their head, then come to the other person. Okay, I already have the solution. And then want the other person to jump on board.
Yeah, when you have an input into any solution or any idea or promise, you're more vested. Yeah, and I mean sometimes you know you may think of something and you say, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking. Are you able to get on board with it? You know, you take that as you need it, but it's something that needs to be discussed and it needs
Right.
to be together when you do that.
Right. Don't come to your spouse, hey, this is what we're going to do. I don't think that's going to go over well. They might be like, oh, we are? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
I don't know if this is relevant, but I think it makes sense. So I don't know if you remember when we were dating, I did something and I did it to see kind of how you would react. We went out to eat and I think the water had just came and I was like, let's go. And I kind of looked at you and said, let's go. And you got up and you followed me out and you was like, what's going on? What is it? And I was like, nothing. I just needed to see if you would follow me. And you was like, yeah, I'm wherever you going, I'm going. And I was like, yeah, I got the right one. She didn't even question like, hey, what's going on? It could have been a hitman in the back, and we sitting there arguing about leaving, and we both gone. You know, in that kind of situation, you want someone just to react and go. But you know, I thought that was comical, but it also let me know that you were willing. You know, if there was a decision need to be made, you were willing to say, hey, if you got it, you got it. Mm-hmm. I'm with you. And it's the same way with you. If you say, hey, this is what we need to do, you know, we're at that point where I trust you.
Yeah.
You know, I trust you. But I think big decisions, you've got to, you got to compromise.
You ain't got me on big decisions. If I come to you with something.
Yeah, let's talk about it. I'm going to come to you. I hope I do. Oh, no. Don't. I mean, there was a time where I was my little guns. You think about my guns or something?
No.
Oh.
Not even just your little guns. Just,
I mean, they ain't little, but, you know.
yes, not little, but, just period. Little things can become big things. So don't negate that. If you feel like I don't care what it is. If it's small, you still need to go to your spouse. Just don't make decisions by yourself.
You know, I said the guns, but I think we need more ammo. I mean, you good with me going to get some more ammo?
I'm good with you going to get some more
All right,
ammo.
you never know. The zombies still could come, so we got to be ready
Oh, gosh.
for the zombies. They're coming back around. You know, there's some things you probably shouldn't compromise, and I'd say probably. Let me rephrase
There's some
that.
things you
should
shouldn't
not
compromise on.
about. Right, your values.
Yes, absolutely.
You should never compromise on your values. They don't change with the wind.
Nope.
They are what they are. You know,
Yep.
I don't think you should ever compromise safety.
Nope.
You know, I remember a time when, was it alarm system? We were talking about alarm system. I was like, man, I don't need no alarm. Let's just put the sign out there. And you were like, nah, I want the alarm. You travel all the time. I was like, ain't
Yes.
nobody gonna break in here. You said I want the alarm.
That was a
It
non-negotiable.
was non-negotiable. You know, I said, you know, you're right. I also remember, this is comical, when early on in our marriage, and you had both the boys, and
When the alarm system kept going off?
no, not
Oh.
that. This was. We were looking for a vehicle. We were looking for a vehicle, and you said, "I'm gonna tell you what I want.
Oh, yeah.
And I want you to go get it."
Yep.
You said, "I had your kids. I want the doors to open when I push the button because I'm gonna have your kids in my arms and probably some
I
groceries."
did. Yep.
I was like, "What?" And you're like, "That's what I want." Now you spoke what you wanted,
I did.
and begrudgingly, I was like, "Man, you want a new vehicle?"
I sure did. I wanted the trunk to open when I hit it. I sure did. Yep, I did, y'all. I told him that exactly that. I said, if I'm going to be out grocery shopping with your two children, because our oldest was in school, so I was like, I need those doors to open when I need them to open and that trunk to open when I need it to open.
Straight bougie.
Yep. Did.
You got it too, didn't you?
I did.
You got it. The girl ran our van down. God,
We shouldn't also compromise on, you said, our core values,
we did. Goals.
goals.
You know, if you have a goal, you have something that you're want to do, I should be supportive of that. You know,
Yes.
knowing that this is something that is important to you. I think about when you got your master's, it's what you wanted for yourself, and we didn't do a really good job of supporting you in that. As I look back, as I started talking about, it, I shouldn't have brought it up. And you reminded us that
I did. I had to go off on you guys to remind you. Yep, I did.
you did go off too on the whole house.
I did. I sure did.
That was a learning. You still made it through, and we still made it through. But you know,
Even with real estate too, I had to have come to Jesus meet with y'all again.
you need a lot of.
I did a lot of come to Jesus meeting with y'all. I don't know why y'all didn't get it the first time when I was getting my master's. And
No, I was coming from a different angle. You need a lot of support. You want to go back to school. You better get it done. I'm just playing.
oh, okay.
I'm just
I
playing.
was getting ready to say I support you and everything.
You did, but you know, when I did my real estate, I was working.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and I rightly failed that class the first time.
But you didn't have to come home and cook.
No, I
Not
didn't have
one
to do
dinner,
that.
clean,
No,
nothing.
I did, but no, I mean, I didn't have to. I still failed that class.
You did.
Yeah, but you didn't. You said you failed the first time too, didn't you?
Yes.
The test, not the class.
Yes.
Yeah, I failed the whole class. They were like, if your score isn't such and such, thank you. I was like, oh, so rude.
Yep.
But
So spouses, support your spouses in everything.
yes, goals.
They need you. Goals, whatever. Be very supportive.
Now, what if you disagree with what they're trying to do? How would you approach that?
I don't know. They would just have to talk about that. I don't know.
And it could be a disagreement, not with the goal, but maybe the timing of it.
The timing, okay, yeah. Sit down and talk about it. Say, hey, if you feel like it's not the right time, I just feel like it's not the right time. Can we hold off and see if you can compromise?
It's just got to be a conversation
Got to be a conversation. That's it.
because the timing may be off with
Yeah.
it. You know.
Yeah.
You know, the other thing you shouldn't compromise is mutual respect. You know, as you talked about supporting each other, you've got to respect the other person's wishes, wants, desires, and you know, honestly, you should want to help them pursue those things because if they find joy in it,
Yeah.
you should find joy in their joy
Yeah, absolutely.
with it. Compromise is something that you have to practice because it may not come natural. You know, you could several things. You could be an only child and never had to share nothing,
Right. You've been single for so long.
and just been doing your thing.
You've been
you
doing
know,
your thing.
doing your
And
thing.
you got to come into this marriage. You're like, what? Oh, God.
I mean, the results of not compromising, right, could be misunderstandings. It could be breakdowns.
Yeah. It could be cause for a divorce.
It could be. You know, you're
I hate
not.
saying the D word, but
I know. You know, we're trying to prevent those things.
yeah.
You know, it frustration can accumulate, and that can
Yeah.
just snowball.
It
to,
can. Because especially if you build that up, that frustration, and then when you finally let it rip and let it go,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I was
Might not be good.
No, it might not be good. I was having a conversation with somebody at work. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. And they were saying that they know that they're not ready for a relationship because they still got past hurt. And what happens is if that person or whoever reminds them of that, it could be something small, but it turns big because
Yeah.
it's a snowball effect.
Yeah.
So that can happen in a marriage where you just, like you said, pent up frustration.
Yep.
And you can have resentment towards that person because
Yeah.
they're not compromising.
And you definitely don't want to have resentment because once that comes in, that's hard to get back to that mutual place, ground, you know, where you guys were in your relationship. So you definitely don't want to have that resentment.
Yeah, I mean, it can cause loss of connection. You know, now I'm resenting you, and I don't want to hold your
I
hand.
don't want to touch you. I want to see you. I'm sorry.
Don't reach my
I didn't know
hand
you was speaking.
I want to touch you. You know, so it,
Oh
it
gosh.
could just compound when you compromise.
It becomes stagnant.
Yeah,
Oof. It's a big one.
that's a big one.
Yeah, you don't want to become stagnant.
No, and you don't, and that can happen too if you're always the one compromising. Like, man, I'll never get anything I want. I'm always giving you, giving, and never get. That builds frustration as well.
Yep.
But I think, compromise gets, I wouldn't say easier, but it's not a task because number one, your spouse isn't going to ask you to do something that's going to be
Reasonable.
unreasonable, harmful, or anything like that, and you're gonna find joy in bringing them joy. But you have to talk about those things. Kids is another big one
Oh yeah.
that you need to have discussed and probably rediscuss because views could change. You could
Yeah. Got to compromise on like what time should they come in, go to bed, and this that.
time out or
Time.
spanking
Yeah.
because maybe you were raised one way, they were raised the
Oh,
other.
that's a big one. Yeah.
Discuss it, talk about it, and if you have polar opposites, polar opposite views because of how you were raised, maybe take out how you were raised and say, how do you want to raise? Because when you bring your own stuff into it, sometimes you dig in.
All right.
This is how I was raised, and this is it doesn't mean it was right. It was just how you were raised.
Right.
So maybe you phrase it differently. Hey, how would you like to be raise our kids to be, not to be, but how would you like to raise
our children.
to raise our
Right,
children, and then get the same input, and don't just discount it
Right.
if it's
right.
different.
I know we were brought up with spankings, and a lot of people don't want to spank their children, and that's perfectly fine. That's their choice. But if that other parent was like, "Oh no, I was raised this way with the spanking," meet in the middle. You don't have to spank them for everything.
Oh, I thought you was gonna say you don't have to spank them. I mean, you don't have to, but I mean, we didn't. They caught it. They ain't caught it. They ain't catch it for everything.
Yeah, you don't have to for everything. Some kids you might be able to sit down and talk to.
Yeah.
And they might be able to, get
Stand them
it.
straight.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't even like the way I used to want to spank them. You was like, yeah, don't take
No.
all that.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, so I was like, well,
But compromise is not bad. Just hearing that word.
it's not. It's not. It's something that is a necessity in marriage. You can't come in not compromising and just having everything your way. The marriage won't last. Because who wants to give and never receive?
Right.
Who wants to never have their opinions heard, never have their opinions valued? No one wants that.
No.
It's not coming to America, whatever you like. Whatever
Well,
you
it's
like.
not my way or the highway.
It is not my way or the highway. And unfortunately, some people probably think that. You probably won't be married long. You should want to please that person
Yep.
and keep them happy. I'm curious to what others would think about compromise. We've heard other things about compromise. We've heard when it's a blended family and how do you compromise with the other kids in the family. We've heard all kind of stories that we won't get into today. But, the gist of this is that compromise is a necessity in marriage, and how you deal with it can determine how you deal with each other.
Right.
So know that it's a part of marriage. It's a part of lasting marriage.
Not even marriage, relationships, period.
I agree. I mean, it's in everything we do. You have to compromise, and so you can be good at compromising. Just don't leave the discussion out of it. Don't get dug in to your ways. Don't get dug into your thoughts. Know
That's
that
right.
other thoughts are valid, and they can actually expand you when someone else gives you different perspective. It can expand your thinking and expand your mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Value your spouse, value what they say, value their input. You need each other.
That's why you're put together, so that you can have a holistic view of things.
Right.
It's important. So as we wrap this up, I'm looking forward to kind of the feedback we get from this. We were this weekend. We were somewhere, and someone told us they were listening to our podcast, and
Yeah.
we didn't send it directly to them, so it got to them somehow, and they said they enjoyed it. He told me, he said, "Hey man, more people need to listen to it. More people need to do what you all are doing. And I was like, hey, just continue to share. That's our goal. He said, yeah, it's good. Can keep it up. And so I appreciate that feedback that he gave on that because marriage is important. Marriage is good. It is wonderful.
It is.
But it's work, like we always say.
Yep, it's work.
It is work. So until next time, when we talk about,
Let's talk about blank. Oh,
I thought you were going to start singing it.
I thought about it.
I know, I could see it. It was right. It was right there. You should have just let it go. I'd have gave you a beat. I'd have gave you a beat. They don't know you can sing now. You can sing. So I don't know if you can spit lyrics, but you can sing.
I can't spit
You
lyrics.
can't
I
spit
can't.
lyrics. Yeah, but you can sing. So next time on Through It All, I've got you with Mark and Sharanda. As I said in the beginning, please like, share, subscribe, so that you can continue to get this content. It can help us deliver the content to you. We appreciate you all for joining us.
And remember, building compromise in a marriage requires an ongoing effort and commitment from both parties.
Not just one,
No, both parties.
both parties. Maybe you can have some fun with compromise. Hey, if I give you this, you give me that. I mean, we've done that. Hey, if I meet you here, what you gonna meet me at? And then
Until next
we
time.
can talk about. Okay, so until next time, thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.